Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's Accord & Company webinar. The topic is new release highlights in Sage MyAssistant. Our subject matter experts today are Dennis and Mitch Earnshaw from Innovative Software Design. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. Everyone is muted for a clean listening experience. If you have questions, please type them into the questions box and we will address them at the end of the session. For the best visual experience, please maximize your screen. This presentation is being recorded and a copy will be emailed out to everybody later today. I will now turn it over to you, Dennis.
Thank you, Kristen. On our agenda here, we're going to go through, we've had quite a few changes in the last two releases of MyAssistant, in MyAssistant 20.1 and 20.3. We're also going to share with you a variety of educational resources available to you, many customers are not aware of. Kristen's already mentioned, I guess we're going to do chat, questions in chat. Kristen, if questions come up and you want to interrupt us, go ahead and interrupt us to pose those questions at the moment. Up to you. Okay. The most important thing in this session, folks, is to let your imaginations go. You guys have been very, very creative. There's about 2,300 Sage customers using MyAssistant, and we are seeing really creative uses of MyAssistant, and we really encourage you to let your imaginations go in this process. So we're going to dive in right now. We're going to spend a lot of time in the software, so Mitch, why don't you go ahead and grab it and jump into 20.1, please.
Thank you, Dennis. Hello, everyone. I'm going to be talking to you today about MyAssistant 20.1. There were a number of new features that were introduced in this release. The first thing that we wanted to address was we heard from several people using MyAssistant that sometimes they got lost, just even when they've opened up the software. They were having trouble kind of trying to find what they were looking to do. Maybe they couldn't find search, or they were trying to find a particular button. What we did was we went to this new kind of cleaner look right here and made the buttons for the most common actions in MyAssistant more clear. Goal behind this was to make it easier for you to find the things that you wanted to do with MyAssistant. For example, right here, we made search, so designated spot right here, a lot easier to find. So if I were to search on a word like codes, here are all my MyAssistant tasks around codes, or if I were to do the same thing with insurance, here are all my pre-built tasks around insurance. The other thing we did as well is we also made sure that these buttons up here for running tasks or editing them were very clear, and even including this manage unsent emails button that a lot of people didn't know was here, but when emails are in queue to be sent, you can monitor them here, and then if need be, even stop them or remove the records in MyAssistant associated with those emails. So that was all kind of under the idea of making things easier for you to find. This also continued, if I were to do a search right here, into the actual task setup itself. So if I open up one of my MyAssistant tasks here and I go to the email step, you'll notice right here at the top, this button bar up here used to be really busy with a lot of different information in it, a lot of different things you could do. So what we did was we kind of went back to the drawing board and said, all right, here are just kind of the most common things folks will do with the email step in setting up a task. For example, right here, if you have reports that you want to attach to a MyAssistant task out of Sage, your profit reports, cost reports, any of your custom reports that you have on Sage reports menus, those are all available right here. So if you drill down, these are the different Sage applications, and then these are all the reports you have on the reports menu. All of that's available for you to attach right there using this button here. We have the same thing as well for Crystal reports. And then we also have this button right here for spreadsheet templates. Many customers aren't aware that they can actually send information in an Excel format using a MyAssistant spreadsheet template. This has been around for a little while, and we've seen folks who are already using this process sending AR aging spreadsheets, cash flow, cost breakdown spreadsheets. Folks have gotten very creative with sending spreadsheets with MyAssistant. What we did was we made it easier for folks to get started with creating templates and sending spreadsheets. Most people are familiar with sending a list in the body of an email today. So most folks are familiar with getting an email like this that says, oh, okay, here are my cost codes over budget, for example. And they say, oh, well, you know, this is easy, and I can add fields to that. I feel comfortable with that. So if I want to add something like the last cost update, I can click and drag that here. But if they say, okay, well, can I get this information in Excel? We've added a very easy, straightforward way for you to do that. All you have to do now is click Spreadsheet Template, use Notification List, which is what we call this down here, and now you get a MyAssistant spreadsheet template right here with all the information that you wanted right here available for you in Excel. Now, this is a very powerful, versatile tool. There's a lot you can do here. We can make changes like adding columns or grouping the information, adding totals and subtotals. We'll talk about that another time. Don't worry about it right now, but that is something that's available when it comes to creating these spreadsheet templates, okay? Like Dennis mentioned, you guys are really the creative ones. Folks who have been using spreadsheets, in addition to the other examples I talked about, have been coming up with some really creative spreadsheets. Insurance allocation calculations used to kind of verify information that's then, there are costs that are then uploaded back into job costs. PTO balance spreadsheets for employees noting, okay, who's taken PTO, who has PTO remaining. And one company we worked with actually created a whole payroll spreadsheet that they're submitting to a union. Now, as folks have gotten more creative with these spreadsheets, they have wanted more security around them. So what we did was we added the ability to password protect the Excel spreadsheets that MyAssistant sends out. So just by clicking Review and Protect Spreadsheet, right here we have the ability to require a password to open the workbook, and we could also have a separate password for just editing content. So I'm going to just put a basic password right here. And now when I actually send this and receive an email, it will require a password for me to be able to open up the attachment. Just a reminder at this point, I want to remind everyone that MyAssistant can send content that's been filtered by recipients. So if we want to send attached reports, we can send employees just their pay statements. We can send vendors their electronic payment notifications. We can also go so far as to say, hey, we want to send each project manager a report for their. We can do the same thing with spreadsheets in MyAssistant. So you can actually use MyAssistant to send multiple spreadsheets to different people where the content is filtered by recipient, okay? Sometimes when working with clients, they've said, okay, well, I'm sending, for example, cost codes to my project managers, but they want a separate spreadsheet per job because maybe they're going to be forwarded on to different superintendents. So what they want is, hey, I'd like to be able to see what's in this spreadsheet before I even open it. Just really easy to be able to see, okay, what's in here. To answer that, what we've done is we've added the ability to add a stage field to the name of the attachment. So if I click this button right here and I say, okay, I'm going to send a separate email per job, I'm going to set that up in a moment. I want to put the job number here in the name of the Excel spreadsheet. So when I receive it, I'll be able to see, oh, okay, this is the spreadsheet that had job 3 in it or job 2. And I'll be able to see that just from the name of the attachment, okay? In this example, this is just going to me right now, but I'm going to send myself a separate email for each job. So I'm going to come here to notification options and check this box right here. And then I'm going to select job. So now the recipients, in this case me, are going to get a separate email for each job. And when I click OK on that, I hit run and send, I'm going to get a separate email per job. And right here is one of those emails. And I can see right here in the name of the attachment, okay, this is for job 3-006. Okay. As folks have used MyAssistant more, they've seen what they can get from MyAssistant. They say, hey, this is great. Can we have more? Can we have stuff that's changed or customized or personalized for our company? And sometimes that can lead to changes. This may be changing the information in the email, or this may be changing something like a task attachment. But a challenge is sometimes if you have a report that's attached to a MyAssistant task, you have, if you want it to be changed, it has to be found. You have to know where it is. I think everybody here has probably dealt with, you know, a reports folder that has a ton of reports in it. So you want to make sure that you're finding the right report. So to help you do that, we added a new feature for attached reports. If you open up a task here and you go to the email step and you look at any attachment here on a task, you can right click on it and select properties. When you do this, this brings up a whole bunch of information about your attachment. Specifically though, it tells you where it came from. So if I were to go and try to look for this report right now, this is where I would go and look. Now, sometimes you'll open up a window and you say, okay, I need to go look there. You go and look at that location, report's not there. I'm guessing we've all experienced that once in a while. Reports move, report names change. None of that ever happens, right, guys? But in that case, we say, all right, well, we have this challenge now. We can't find this report. Well, for Crystal reports attached directly to MyAssistant tasks, we actually have another option. What you can do is you can actually right-click right here and say Save As. When you do this, you're going to get prompted to actually save a copy of the Crystal report directly to wherever you decide to put it. Okay, and this is a Crystal report I can open up and edit and make changes to, and I know the report that I'm running on this task. Now, let's fast forward a moment and say you or a business partner, someone has updated this report, and you need to update MyAssistant. Well, attached reports have a number of components to them. If you see right here, if you open up a MyAssistant task, you'll see it has a number of different things here on the attachment. We've got a custom attachment name, the report parameters, which kind of determine the content of the report. Those may be set up in a certain way. You may have a password on your attached report. You may also be saving a copy of each report that gets sent out to a location on your server. All of this is a lot of information that you would have to, in the old system, manually set up yourself. So you'd have to attach your new report. I'll change the date here just to make it clear. You would have to attach the new report and then manually re-enter all that information under the old system. We did away with that. We said, look, this is going to be a lot easier if you can just right-click on a report and say refresh. And when we do that, we can select the updated report and check it out. We see right here The new report is on here. And if we open it up, all the information that was entered in there before is still there. Okay? So all you have to do now to update a Crystal report attached to a MyAssistant task is just right-click and refresh. Now, if there are any changes that have occurred, MyAssistant will open up this window automatically. It'll fill in the stuff that's the same, and you'll be able to see the items that are different, especially if there are any changes to like the report prompts. Other than that, if everything's the same, it won't even open. You'll just see the updated name right here, if the name is updated. Any questions so far?
Yes, we have one question. Why can't you attach a GL financial statement or ledgers through MyAssistant?
It's an issue in Sage. Sage doesn't provide a way to automate that. That report is done with a special tool, and that tool, we can't use it. We technically can't do it. Now, we have seen some clients do some simple financial statements with Crystal, but we are, on that note, talking to Sage. We have an idea on one way we might be able to do that, but like with macros and so forth. But at this point, it's a technical issue in Sage.
That's all we have to.
Okay. So next thing we want to talk about, folks, we've seen a spectrum of MyAssistant users. We've seen some companies where they have just one or two MyAssistant tasks set up. We've seen some that have 20 or 30 or more. It all depends on the company. But as the clients have used the product more, over time, they've noticed sometimes the software is slow to open. So if they close this and then click MyAssistant to open, it can potentially be a little slower. The reason for that is because of the amount of information that the tasks are looking up over time. These numbers right here, these are counts of records that Sage is looking up over time. As people use MyAssistant more, these numbers get bigger, and because MyAssistant reads all these numbers and we can actually see all these records here when the software opens, that's why it can be a little slower. What we did to help with that is we gave folks the option to say, okay, once I get the emails that I want, I don't really need this information in MyAssistant. So what they can do is they can open a task, go to this notification option step, and then uncheck this box that says retain notifications after sending. By unchecking this box, after I run my MyAssistant task and I receive the emails that I'm sending, MyAssistant's going to refresh and clean up this information right here, and this number will go away. It's a simple way to help the software run faster, because when the software opens, if there are fewer records that it has to kind of read through and pull up this count for, it's going to be faster. Okay. Now, I'm guessing everyone here at one point or another has had to have a signature in their emails, okay? Looks professional, some companies require them, and a lot of people in the past have wanted their MyAssistant emails to look the same as their other emails that they're sending. Big part of that was adding an email signature. In previous versions of MyAssistant, just trying to copy a email signature into an email like this presented some challenges. So basically what would happen is that if they took their email signature and said, all right, I'm going to copy this in here. Email signatures have what are called hidden characters, and MyAssistant couldn't read these. So these hidden characters, when we tried to run the MyAssistant task, would cause an error. Now, we've made a lot of changes in this area so you can copy and paste your signature into emails now. Please note, though, there are a lot of different hidden characters. We've addressed as many as we've seen so far, but if you continue to find some that don't work, let us know and we'll continue to work on it. In the meantime, another option you have as well is to just copy the text into Notepad. It strips out all the formatting, and then you can copy this and paste it into a task and then format it in here with format text, okay? But first and foremost, though, for most folks, we're pretty sure it's going to work now. And here we go. Last thing I want to talk to you guys about, I'm not going to spend a lot of time with it. MyAssistant uses these things called email directories to look up who to notify based on the information that's found. That's the primary tool that we're using when we're sending filtered content by recipient. So sending each employee their pay stub, sending AR customers their statements, or letters to vendors about compliance issues. All of that is used with an email directory. And we added a new ability to use what are called MyAssistant formulas in email directories. Basically, think of a MyAssistant formula as a lookup for anyone who's familiar with creating reports in Report Designer. So basically, if you want now, you can use a MyAssistant formula to create an email directory. If you have more questions about this or want to learn more, feel free to reach out to us after the session. We can talk with you more about it, but that's another new feature that we introduced that we want to make everyone aware of. Any other questions at this point?
Nothing so far.
Okay, so Kristen, can you make me the presenter, please? I got it, thanks.
Oh, you got it, okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that was MyAssistant 20.1. 20.3 had a variety of new features as well. The first one, which quite a few customers asked for, is the ability to send emails from multiple addresses. So when someone gets an email in their inbox, they wanted it to be from address to be something they recognized. Like, for example, if you're sending pay statements, you may want the email address to be something like, payroll at your company name or what have you. So this is the new server setup window in 20.3. And as you can see here, I can have multiple from sending emails that I can use. So you can set up as many of these as you'd like. You have a default one. And then what happens is when you go into MyAssistant, and if I were to go into a task here, so for example, I'll go into, I think I mentioned payroll as an example. I'll go into payroll direct deposit task, and I open that task up. In task setup, when I go to the email step, I can go to view and add the from option right here. And now I can indicate by task who it's coming from. So if I want this one to come from this email address, it'll say payroll. And if I don't put any in there, it'll use the default option. So really trying to help your recipients of information kind of know who it's coming from. More likely it'll get opened and so forth. So that's in 20.3. Also 20.3 is we added quite a few new pre-built tasks. There's about 19 new pre-built tasks in MyAssistant that you can just activate and use. If you aren't already using the search option, if you saw Mitch use the search option, we would recommend that. There's quite a few new pre-built tasks around the spreadsheet stuff. Like, for example, we added an AP Cashflow spreadsheet. I'll just kind of show you what that one looks like. We've added a new AR aging spreadsheet. Some customers have told us that some of their AR agings take a minute or so to run, and then what they've done is they've gone to MyAssistant to generate those. This is an AP Cashflow spreadsheet that comes out of the pre-built task in MyAssistant. Let me drag that over, sorry. So it goes out and projects your cash outflow here in this one for vendors by month. There's, I don't have a list off the top of my head. There's a variety of them. I think there's about 15 or 16 different pre-built spreadsheets now. I could be wrong. There's quite a few of them. The release, if you don't have the MyAssistant release notes, we can send those to you. They're all detailed in that. We also added tasks for miscellaneous communications. We're seeing Sage customers, particularly around COVID, send notes out to vendors and customers and employees. And so there's just a task in here, for example, that just says send vendors a note. And what you can do is spell better than I do. And so, so I say send vendors an email. I can come in and activate this task. And when I go to the step here, remember you can use an email directory to look up each vendor's name or email address. And then you can put a note right here in the body of the email. Now, something that folks aren't aware of is right here, if I had a Word doc, I could come in here, hit open. So let's say I had a letter, what have you, that I'd written to a vendor, and I could grab a Word doc. I don't know if I have one here. And if I opened it up, it'll actually open up in the body of the email for me, ready to go. And then I can shoot those out to the vendor. Obviously, I can come in here and type as well, in the body of the email. So there's pre-built tasks for sending vendor communications, customer communications out as well for you. A new pre-built task that people liked. I don't know if any of you have ever went to tie out at month end and you found out you had unposted Sage entries. So now there's tasks for every single Sage application, APAR, payroll, job cost, GL, for unposted entries in Sage, and it's listed by Sage data folder. So you can come in and say companies where invoices aren't posted in accounts payable or in equipment management or in general ledger. So you can turn on these pre-built tasks right here that I'm kind of highlighting and schedule those to run at the end of the month, and it will tell you automatically if there are any entries that aren't posted. A variety of new formulas have been added. We continue to add them for different days and so forth, different time frames. People don't realize there's lots and lots of formulas in MyAssistant. Even if you're doing something like a simple issue in the body of an email, let me go ahead and flip this to activated tasks. So even if I have, something here where I'm sending out a list in the body, you do that down here by doing down here. There's all sorts of formulas that you can do in here. So there's really hundreds and hundreds of these set up that you can drag in, and you can create your own with this formula button right here. So be aware of that as well. So there's a bunch of formulas that you can add to tasks. If your pay statements run slow, there's quite a few canned pay statements out there. We've sped those up quite a bit. If you have a slow statement, reach out to us and we can see what we can do to speed that up. And then there's a variety of things that have also been fixed in conditions and so forth. So quite a bit in 20.1 and 20.3. Some people say, well, what learning options do I have? What resources? One thing that we recommend clients do is start with the pre-built tasks. Just start coming in here and start turning on some of these things. So if you came in here, I'm going to flip this to all tasks right here. Come in and just run it. So go in and say, I want to see what, let me just grab one here, this insurance task looks like, or vendors on hold, or what have you. Just grab it and go in and say open, and just step through the activation wizard. Put your email address in, then see what it does. Run and send it. Go in and you can modify those things like they show you by if you don't like what comes in the email and you just want to change that, you can come in here and go to the email step, and then this is the information in Sage on the right. Use the search and drag things over here to add things and rerun it. That's a really quick way to just start seeing what's there, seeing what the types of information you can get out of the system. Another resource for you folks is YouTube. We recommend that go into YouTube and just type in MyAssistant. You'll be quite surprised as to the number of videos that are out here for you. And so I'm going to type in MyAssistant. You have to put Sage in front of that. But you will see lots and lots of videos that are here that you can, I mean, there's lots of them that you can go in and review and so forth. The other thing that people aren't aware of is there's a MyAssistant YouTube channel. So if you come in here and go to MyAssistant training videos on YouTube, there's a channel here for training videos that we put out there, and we constantly add more to and so forth. So this is a resource for you guys as well. There's your local consultant, and then the Sage knowledge base. Sage has done a really good job with their knowledge base and constantly add new articles and so forth to the knowledge base. So lots of resources available to you out there. That kind of wraps up what's new in 20.1, 20.3. We've been busy. We're also working on a new release coming out that you'll see at the end of this month. So stay tuned for that. At this point, we'd like to open it up to any questions that may be out there.
Okay, we have a couple of questions. The first question is, if the recipient replies to the email, will it go to the alternative email?
Yes. Yes, it will. So it's going to, that's a great question. There's two choices on that. I'll show it to you. If you have multiple froms, it's going to go, so if I went like this and I said, make this one from payroll, it's going to go back to payroll. Now, if you don't have multiple froms, we also have this reply to email. So in the reply to, if I put an email address in here, it's going to go to this one first. And then if the reply to is not there, it's going to go to the from. So your first one option is to go to view, reply to. See, it turns this on and off. And if you put there, when someone hits reply, it's going to go to this email address. If the reply is not there, it's going to go to the from. Good question.
Okay, the other question we have is, MyAssistant comes with built-in reports.
It does. There's quite a few reports to the task. For example, if you look at that payroll sending pay statements one, there's reports there. There's yes, it does. There's reports attached in a variety of places here. Likewise, as Mitch mentioned, you can attach any of your reports on your Sage menus. You know, so to do that. In fact, I'll just show you real quick how to do that. So if I do the send a report option here, so I'm just going to go to the send report task. I'll open it up. Let's say I just want to send me a report, okay? And I know it's a report on my Sage menu. So I go here and I say Sage report, and it shows up on another screen. 1 second, sorry. Days of multiple monitors. Here's my reports. And so if I want, I don't know, I think I have a report called the profit report. I just guess at what the name may be, and I grab it, and it's going to open up the little reports menu. You fill in any prompts you want, and then you put your email address in. So I'll just leave it like that, and I can put my email address wherever it goes through here, and that's it. So yes, it comes with reports, but you also can attach your custom reports or any of the canned reports out of Sage just by doing what I just did. And that's it. I'm done.
Okay, the next question is, does MyAssistant send pay stubs?
It does, definitely. Yes, probably the most common thing people do with MyAssistant is send employees their pay stubs. And in doing so, you can password protect them, you can save a copy, you can copy somebody in the office. It does. It also sends electronic pay statements. So if you're paying your vendors electronically, you can send each vendor their remittance advice, a statement showing what you paid them on that.
Okay,
and
one more question.
Okay. Sorry. So go ahead.
Are there character limitations on recipient email addresses?
No. Nope. Well, within reason. It's whatever's built into the internet standard, the internet SMTP standard. That's just ridiculous.
Okay, another question came in. We are using Sage 300 CRE 20.3.1 and MyAssistant 20.1.1. Does Sage 300 require any upgrades to switch to MyAssistant 20.3?
Good question. No. In fact, you kind of want to keep those in line. It's not absolutely necessary, but it's a good idea. But no, you can just do a simple MyAssistant upgrade. It won't take long at all, and no changes to Sage.
Okay, next question is, will it send job cost reports, and can it be set up to do it automatically bi-weekly?
Absolutely. That's a really good question. And what you can do on that is you can do it two ways. You can just generically use the send report option right here, like I just did with the profit report, and I can actually schedule that. And I'm sorry we didn't take time with that. I can schedule that right here with the schedule option, and I can just say, come in, do it every other week. Or you can do it a couple times a month. You can have multiple schedules here, 1st and 15th. And then what happens is this just sits on your server and pushes them out. That's one thing that MyAssistant does is we didn't really get the details of it, but there's a monitoring capability. When you set up these things called tasks, you can do a new task right here. You can tell what to look for in Sage. So for example, you can conditionally send reports. We've got clients that will send reports to projects who had labor that week or overtime that week or what have you, and push those out. But if you want just a generic automatically send it out, what I just did would do it right now. You see the schedule here.
Okay, next question is, on average, how long does it take to implement MyAssistant?
That's a tough one. I'm not trying to avoid it, but it's going to depend on how many tasks you set up. It's not uncommon to install MyAssistant and, for example, set up that pay statement one in a few hours to get the install and this done. Going out to employees in a few hours. It's not. We try to preset as much as we can. If you want a lot of customizations, obviously that's going to take longer time. But a few hours is really common for even just to get, for example, the pay statement one going. But if you want to set up, if you want to set up 20 different tasks that are all customized, that's going to take more time. But we've really tried. There's 300 pre-built tasks. Like I said, we can create new ones. We can copy them. So anyway.
Okay, one last question. What would cause the retain notifications after sending to be checked and grayed out, not allowing you to uncheck the box?
Really good question. And I think what can happen is there's a feature in MyAssistant called Notify Once. So if I were to go in here and I would check this, actually it shouldn't be grayed out. You might want to call us. I can give you Kristen can give you our email. It shouldn't be grayed out now that I think about it. So when he gives a call, we'll take a look.
Okay, Sarah, I will reach out to you after the webinar. So that is all the questions we have for today. So I want to thank everybody for attending. Again, the webinar was recorded and we will email it out to everyone later today with full contact information. If you do have questions, feel free to reach out and contact us at any time. Thank you, Dennis and Mitch, and have a great day, everybody. Bye now.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.